Hello, everybody. I'm Tony Kalo, and there they go with the Auxiliary Gate podcast.
The Auxiliary Gate. Big problem.
You're listening to the Auxiliary Gate podcast, Kentucky's weekly horse racing discussion. And now, here are your hosts, Alan Schneider, Geoff Riggs, and me, CC Broadus. Hello, friends. Welcome to episode number 227 of the Auxiliary Gate podcast on the evening of December 16th, 2025. I'm CC Broadus, but that's not important right now. Let's bring in our other hosts, Alan Schneider. Alan, I've been searching for 6 years now how to introduce you, and I really don't know how to do it. Can you deliver the perfect introduction?
For me, I don't know, something about stupid puns and 80s music and being a tired old man. I can't come up with anything really good. You're hitting me off the top of the head. Maybe like a Norm introduction, like on Cheers, which is my favorite show of all time. But Alan doesn't really ring like Norm does, so I'm kind of lost there with you, buddy. Sorry. I don't have much going. I don't have much going for me.
Work on that, and we'll perfect it next week. How about that?
Gotcha. Fair enough.
Now, it's not hard to introduce Geoff Riggs as the current co-host of the Turfway Park simulcast show, paddock show. What is it, actually?
Yeah, I mean, I think simulcast show is probably the best way to describe it because I haven't been in the actual paddock yet, but I do talk about the horses in the paddock, so that makes sense too. But yeah, I don't know, the Turfway simulcast feed, I guess, broadcast. But
simulcast is not a word. It's not a word you hear very much anymore. You know?
Yeah, it's true.
Simulcast that was a thing in the 90s.
Maybe we can come up with something that makes it sound fancier or something. I don't know.
Taking over the house that Caitlin built. How's that? That's too wordy? That's too wordy.
I'm
right?
house sitting for Caitlin.
House sitting. There you go. That's good. I like that.
Well, I had a brilliant idea about 30 minutes ago, and I had all these topics lined up, and I'm scrapping them all.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about this because Riggs needs a tagline. Now, Harvey Pack used to say, "May the horse be with you." Dave Johnson would, when he's calling a race, he would always say, "And down the stretch they come." Tony Kalo when the race is off, and there they go. Joe Christopher's got his bylines, Cookie Monster and Moneymaker. Geoff Riggs, we're going to take your game to the next level. So,
Okay.
what I did, I fed.
Don't forget Trust Your Luck with Kevin Kilroy. That's one of my favorites.
That's all right. That's a good one. Trust Your Luck. There's others. Somebody says, I think it's Shrupp on TVG said, "May all your bets be winning ones," or may all your photo finishes be winning ones. I mean,
that's a good one. Yeah.
And then there's others. Back in the old days, there was a guy on, was it XBTV, would say bets of luck instead of best of luck. So
okay.
I've what do you call it? I've interfaced with 3 of the top AI platforms.
Oh God.
Grok, ChatGPT, and Microsoft Copilot. I didn't get to Gemini. I didn't have enough time. Gemini.
Grok rocks, man. I'm gonna hire that for my financial advisor. Right. Grok's the bomb.
All right, I'm gonna tell you, Grok was shit.
Oh, okay.
Grok was shit on this one.
I was gonna fire my financial guy to save some money.
Now, ChatGPT was on it tonight. So this is the prompt that I fed ChatGPT. Geoff Riggs is the new analyst for the Turfway Park simulcast show on Fridays and Saturdays. Help me come up with 15 catchphrases for Geoff when something unique happens. Just bear with me. I want you all to grade these 1 to 5. 5 being, we'll call them like the FBG scale. 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars. Then 1 star is crap. Okay. 5 stars is golden. And then we'll go from there. I'm going to spend, there's a lot here. So, and then Geoff, you have to use some of these going forward. That's mandatory.
I'll try to work them in. We'll see what happens.
Let's see.
Well, I got to hear them first.
Wait a minute. No, I'm in Grok. Okay. All right. All right, here's the first. I've got lists of 15 here. So here we go. Number one, that's not in the program, but it's in the winner circle.
Uh,
Uh, two.
Yeah,
one.
that's lame. There's one in here that's golden. So
Okay, okay. We'll keep
uh
that in mind in our grading.
it's not in the 15 though, but I'm gonna read them off here. All right, number two, somebody checked the tote board. Reality just blinked. That's kind
One.
of cool.
One.
That's a two. That's a two. Because it's a
Maybe
blinking
a
tote.
two.
It's a blinking tote board.
It's too long
Yeah.
Hey,
and it's too I don't know.
all right,
That's a one for me, but I get the argument for it too.
three. If you had that, you're lying or you're rich.
Well, kind of like
That's
that one a little
that's
better.
that's better.
Three. I'll go three on that one.
This one's a 3 star at least.
Yeah.
That horse just tore up the script and ate the paper.
That's a three for humor, but a one for reusability.
Now, this one's generic. I don't get folks. That's why they run the race. That's a zero.
Yeah.
That's old. That one comes from the Witness Protection Program.
Okay.
That's usable. I think that's usable. That's three and a half.
Three and a half seems generous, but okay.
Alan fell asleep.
I don't like any of these. Go
You don't
keep
like
going.
any of these. All right. This is a good one. This is 3 stars for real.
Okay. Okay. I'm ready for a good one.
Somewhere a better just scared the dog.
I do like that one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. That's my favorite so far. I'll give that one three and a half.
That horse just turned chaos into cash.
That's better. That's a little
Better.
bit better, but
All right. That's Turfway Park saying you're welcome.
That could go either way depending on how the race went for people. Might get
All
pissed at me if I use that one.
right. That that result that result just flipped the apple cart and the farmer.
Farmer, I kind of
All
like
right, all
that one
right, all
too.
right, all right, all right. Then it went off on its own here. So it
Uh-oh.
offered some more quick hitters. This is
No.
the 5 star one. I like this one. This one I would use this one for a huge pace meltdown. Like that mile and a quarter stakes last week. That was it Zverev won.
Yep.
Front runners need oxygen too. I like that one. I like that one. That's 5 stars.
There are a couple of those that I would use once, yeah. But as far as catchphrases go, I don't see it.
They're not. None of these are catchphrase. They're not good enough.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah,
So
yeah.
now, so it offered up. It's like, okay, let me tailor these to specifically synthetic racing at Turfway. So we go to specific
Okay.
catch Turfway Park specific catchphrases. Welcome to Turfway, where the surface has opinions. All
that's
right.
fair. That's fair.
Yeah, it's all right.
All right. Here's a good one. Synthetic racing doesn't lie. It just waits. These are gonna make you famous, Geoff.
It's
This is
probably going to create a clip, that's for sure.
this is a good one. This is a good one. This is five
Okay.
star. This is a 5 star. That's a Turfway special served cold. Alan doesn't like any of these.
That one's
That,
moderately serviceable, I
that's
guess.
a good one. That's a good one. If that's a good one. That's a Turfway special served cold. Because it's cold.
That is
It's cold up.
that's a line that has to be delivered by someone like you though, CC. Like if
Mm-mm.
me or Alan said that, it wouldn't hit like it does coming from the mouth of you.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yes.
Cold weather, hot opinions, and Turfway ready to tell the truth.
That's actually probably the best one so far, honestly.
If you did the work this week, Friday's where it pays.
Wow.
If you like chaos with a finish line, you picked the right track.
Okay.
I've I've watched enough races through this beard to know. I've watched enough races through this beard to know that was chaos. So the beard covers your eyes.
Yeah, I gotta flip it up.
When the beard starts nodding, pay attention.
Oh, okay.
The beard's been wrong before, just not often.
Yeah, there we go.
That's not bad. That's not
That's
bad.
better. And it's giving some positive vibes.
For Turfway Park, I'm Jeff Riggs. Trust the beard.
That's too close to Kilroy.
Okay, all right, here's a good one. Until next time from Turfway Park, I'm Jeff Riggs. May your tickets be live and your beard be wise.
If you have a beard,
If you
or
have one, yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
or if you're a male.
For Turfway Park, I'm Jeff Riggs. If the beard starts nodding, you know what to do. Well, I don't. What do you do?
What do you do?
What are you supposed to do?
I kind
All
of
right,
like the open-endedness of that one. I mean,
all
that's
right.
just
That
up to
gives you.
interpretation.
All right, let's be honest. Most of those were shit.
Yes, yeah. We got some work to do.
I did like this one. That's not a horse. That's a freight train with a saddle.
That is
Okay,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, some of these are garbage.
I've used the freight train line before, just not freight train with a saddle. But yeah, it's pretty good.
He ran like he stole the jockey's watch.
Maybe the people have their own suggestions even. Comment below what you can come up with.
When the beard starts nodding, you know what to do.
What to do.
All right. It's time to get to our special guest. We'll be right back after this.
I should be in bed asleep because I'm old. Motherfucker, you ain't old. We ain't old. You old. I ain't old. You don't know how to have a good time no more. You're all about, I want to be in bed by 9. I don't. I want to be up to 2 a.m. And that's what we're doing. And if you can't handle, get stepping.
Does your significant other give you that tired old speech about not being able to stay up late like you used to, or not having the energy you had 20 years ago? Fear no more, help is on the way. This is CC Broadus on behalf of our friends at Jaggers Laboratories Incorporated, and they've developed a new testosterone supplement called Steppin'.
Get stepping.
Steppin' is all natural, using the seeds and leaves of many Central American flowers to form a powerful boost to your energy levels that won't leave you crashing by midnight. Get Steppin'.
Get stepping.
All right. Our guest this evening, Pat Broadus, is a veteran farrier from Shelbyville, Kentucky. I believe he shod Kentucky Derby starter Flying Mohawk this year. And in the past, from what I found, you can't find a whole lot about farrier statistics. I think he shod Lemons Forever before she won the 2009 Kentucky Oaks. Our friend Jenny Doyle, the Jenny Doyle pipeline, has come through once again, and she's delivered us Mr. Broadus. Now, Pat, welcome to the show, first of all.
Yes, sir. I'm glad to be here.
Now, Pat, I really wanted to find out if you and I were related just by watching some videos of you and reading about your career. I think there's no doubt that we have zero relation because you actually have talent and skill. All I can do is operate this microphone.
Well, I can fake it till you make it. You know, we still might be related.
What where do your folks come from?
South Mississippi.
Mississippi.
That's
Okay.
I was born in South Mississippi. My mom, she's from Biloxi, and my dad's from Gulfport.
So the furthest back I can find is my people came from Garrett County, Kentucky, Lancaster in that area. But all I know is if the Broadduses that have 1D tend to have more money than the Broadduses with 2D. So congratulations.
Well, that's a little bit skewed because there's one Broadus that has a whole lot of money, and his first name's Calvin. So
Okay, I understand.
that's Snoop Dogg.
Yeah,
Good
yeah,
point.
I've had to deal with that in the past. I was like, hey, he's got 1D and I've got 2. So
Yeah. So he's got all the money. All the rest of us just have a little bit left over.
we just split what's left. There's a Broadus Burgers in Louisiana. I've always wanted to go there. I don't know if you've heard of that. There must be a faction down there in the South somewhere. So
There's a lot of them from right around that South Mississippi area over there.
okay. All right. Well, Pat, how long have you been? Well, first of all, what's the proper terminology? Are you a farrier or a blacksmith or something else?
A farrier is someone that specializes in taking care of equine's feet. It could be mules, donkeys, or horses themselves, but also use some of the blacksmith skills to keep it done. So it's just a different word to kind of go about it.
What is a
Go ahead.
plate? What is a plate?
Race plate it's an aluminum plate that's just made. It's already a pre-manufactured shoe, because they're made out of aluminum. That's kind of the thing about the race horses is, they don't get too big in size and they don't get too small in size. So all their feet are within about 4 or 5 sizes of each other. And so they're pre-manufactured to kind of fit a thoroughbred racehorse is what a race plate is.
All right. Well, that was a question I had for you here. I thought I saw a
it's
video.
Just a horseshoe.
I got you. So I saw a video of you making a bar shoe. Can you make a shoe, or is that something you buy shoes and, like you said, pre-made?
Myself, I can make a bar shoe. You used to have to be able to pass a test to get, your license on the racetrack. I've went on and got my journeyman through the AFA, and so in that test, you have to make 4 shoes that fit a horse in a time period, and it's a pretty strenuous test. But yeah, I still make. I've gotten older, my elbow's a little bit wore out, but I still make probably half of my bars. I still hand make.
Wow. Okay.
Which is a specialty shoe made for a special problem for a horse.
So yeah, there's tons of videos online on YouTube where you're dealing with hammering on that anvil or shoeing a horse. I mean, it's like satisfying to watch that. It's crazy. I mean, you just have it down to an exact science. It's amazing to watch.
Always tell. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I always tell people that I'm the kid that got to grow up and be a fireman. Because if you would have asked me at 3 years old what I wanted to do, I'd have told you I wanted to shoe horses.
Now that runs in the family. So your father did that. How long was he in the business, and then when did you come along?
My father started out in '67, I believe, is when he started out, and he was 18 years old. And he started out here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast with a guy by the name of Rip Kennedy. And then he kind of went on to New Jersey and did some stuff up there with a guy by the name of Tim McCarthy. And Tim shod standardbreds. So that's where he kind of got the love for racehorses. And then moved back to the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and then ended up at the fairgrounds in New Orleans, because at that time Jefferson Downs and the fairgrounds, they ran year round down here. So he thought it'd be a great idea, being close to the Mississippi Gulf Coast, that he could still see family and raise his boys down here. And my brother also shoes horses at Churchill. And so he started out down here, and then I came along. I started my apprenticeship with him, man, at a very, very young age. Like there's pictures of me making shoes in the shop at 8, 9, 10 years old. But I really started at about 14 and went through there, and I shod horses all through, helped shoe horses. I wouldn't consider myself a finished farrier by all means, but when I graduated high school, my dad kind of refused to take me there for a little bit because he thought I wanted to shoe horses just because he shod horses. And I ended up back over in Mississippi with a guy by the name of Sandy Macbeth. And I was with him for a couple of, maybe I was going to say a couple of months, but maybe it was a full summer. And then my dad ended up, he told me if I was going to learn how to do this, and I might as well just come on home and finish out my apprenticeship. And I did, and I finished out my apprenticeship at about, I was 19 or 20 is when I went on my own. You really don't know, because I feel in this business, if you do it right, you kind of come along and progress along where you don't really know when you go on your own,
Are there a lot of farriers on the backside, or is it kind of
There is not. We are in trouble. I talked to Mark Hickox about it, who is Victory Racing Plates. He's a representative from them, and he kind of put some numbers together. And the best we could come up with is there used to be a ton on the backside of the racetrack, because it was, it was prestigious and it was a place you wanted to be. And it used to be the really, really, really good horseshoers were all at the racetrack. And I'm not going to say all because there's good horseshoers everywhere, but there was a vast majority of them at the racetrack. And in the previous years, for every 3 farriers leaving the industry, there's one coming in off the track. And on the track, we're at about, for every 5 leaving, there's one coming in. So we're starting to get in some serious trouble on how many farriers we do have back there. Churchill's still in pretty good shape, but like the outlier tracks, I'm at the fairgrounds right now. I'm in New Orleans. And for the most part, there's 5 or 6 guys taking care of the whole backside down here. And there's almost 2,000 head of horses down here.
Wow. And why is there a shortage? Just a difficult trade to learn, I assume.
You
A
know,
lot of physical labor.
well, it's a lot of that. And a lot of, if you look at the trade industries right now, a lot of the trade industries are in trouble. Um, and your average lifespan from kind of the numbers that everybody's just put together, working on the racetrack is your hard working years because you do your apprenticeship, which is 3 or 4 or 5 years, and then you take a couple of years to build your business, and then you've got about 12 to 15 years stuck in the middle there where your body holds up and you have enough work to really be able to make a decent living, and then your body starts failing you. So you don't see too many old retired horseshoers that are walking around that are too sound.
I bet you've got some guns. I bet your arms as big as cannons.
Well, it's I'm a pretty big boy. Yeah.
So I don't want to fight you, right?
Well, I mean, you could. You probably want to fight me right now, coming off of having the flu. I figured pretty much Brian Hernandez, who I'm good friends with, and I'm actually living in his old house in New Orleans right now. He could whip the hell out of me right now.
All right. So the first farrier that I had ever heard of was Ian McKinley, who I think I first heard of him about the time Big Brown was running, and I know he would repair Big Brown's hoof. Is that the same kind of thing you do? Like they were taking wire and kind of holding it together. Do you do those kind of things too?
I do repair quarter cracks, and I've been fortunate enough to have pretty decent success working on them. Ian kind of specializes in glue work, so he specializes in repairing quarter cracks and also gluing on shoes. So I feel that I do a lot of things that are similar but different. No, I don't really use the wire anymore. I've kind of gotten away from that. Obviously, it works great for Ian. But I feel whenever you start drilling holes into a horse's foot that already has a weak spot into the foot, I've never seen anything make it stronger when you start drilling holes into them. It works good for Ian, and he puts the wire in there and twists them up, so that kind of reinforces it. But the modern materials that we have these days, I use Kevlar to put in my patches, and I had to order quite a bit of it to get what I wanted. And the Kevlar that I use it's as thick as a piece of paper, so I'm able to double it over and get 7, 8, 9 layers in there, and it makes it pretty dang strong. And I don't have to go into the foot and be able to drill holes in and do those things with the Kevlar and the modern materials that we have. So, everybody's got things that work for them for sure. You can't knock Ian on what he's done and his success for sure. But I feel that it works better in my practice.
Do you have a certain number of trainers that you work for, or does anybody go to anybody that they can find that's available? Or what I'm saying? Do you have just a handful of trainers that are loyal to you, or is
I have very, very loyal customers. I've got about 200 head that are existing on my books right now, and I run a pretty big practice, but I've got about 200 head, and I call them my base core clients, and those people have been with me since I started. So I've had customers for almost getting close to 30 years of being on my own now. That I've had those same customers, like Dallas Stewart. He's been a huge supporter of mine, and I've worked for him. His first year on his own, we didn't work for him, and after that, we started working for him. And like Neil Pesson, Neil's a small time guy, but I went to work for Neil when I was 19 years old. And Becky Maker has a huge layup facility over in Lexington, Kentucky, and she was Dallas's assistant at the time. So I feel that I have very, very loyal customers. I'm also feel that I'm pretty loyal to them. I travel a lot to take care of my customers, and I feel that it's important to be able. When you get race horses and you're shoeing them on the level that we all try to do them on, I hate them changing hands, and a lot of people it doesn't bother them. But there's codes that we use in my practice. I'm running about 7 trucks right now, or 7 employees, and there's things that we do and we discuss on a daily basis on horses that are coming up and what we do to them to make sure that it kind of stays all together. And sometimes you have a problem with a horse and you get it headed off, or you see a problem coming, and then that horse changes hands to another farrier, or including myself, it comes to me, and I don't know what the last person's tried. I don't know what they've done. So I really try to stay loyal to my customers, and it's turned out to where they've really stayed loyal to me.
I got you. So, who's the most famous racehorse you've ever put shoes on?
Oh man, that is, like right now, Torpedo Anna is probably, one that everybody would know. I'm not her regular blacksmith, and I get into that where it's, I shoe for Kenny in the wintertime. Now we shoe for Kenny in the summer at Colonial Downs, but I only do Kenny's work, his mainstream down here, in New Orleans. And that's, like Todd Boston, he's the guy that's probably shot her the most. And it goes on and on. Like, I've got a few horse of the years, but I don't feel right counting those horses. I just happen to put shoes on them and stay out of people's way. I've got horses that mean more to me than that. Like you mentioned, Lemons Forever. It was pretty cool that I got to do her, and then I got to do Unbridled Forever, which was, her daughter. And Unbridled Forever was a pretty, she was Mare of the Year. I was the only one to touch her through her whole career. And I say I was the only one. My brother may have shot her one time, but I think I count her as one of those ones that taught me a lot of lessons too. She was a pretty interesting mare to do. She had a lot of quirks about her, and kudos to Dallas and his staff, because they figured out things about that mare that she has a special spot in my heart. I always shoe horses pretty much in the same spot in the barns. Horses, they get used to things and they like being in spots. Her, you had to turn her around and do her the opposite direction. For the front left foot, or for the front right foot, and I normally start on the left front because that's where the most comfortable they are. And everything you do, you kind of start on the left side of a horse. But her, I had to turn her around the opposite direction, start on the right front. And if you didn't do that, the fight was on. And you could do her on the right front, spin her back around, and shoe her the rest of the way around, and she'd stand there like an old pony. And that was, like her staff, or Dallas's staff, figured that out. I didn't. And she had some really, really weird feet on her. She taught me a lot in my career. Her hind feet would grow all inside heel. And this is where I talk about, like following your horses and knowing them. She would grow all inside heel. And so you had to trim her unlevel behind. I had to really get after her inside heels and I ducked underneath her webbing. And I ducked underneath there probably 25 times 1 month, just trying to figure out how she was growing and where she was best. And I figured out after I shoe her and get her to where I needed to be, at about 10 or 12 days, she was level behind. So I shot her 10 or 12 days out of her race for the rest of her career. We would set her up to make sure that she was the best she could be when she was ready to run.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out that when she won the Oaks in 2006, I believe.
That was Lemons Forever. Yeah, that was. I'm talking about.
Oh, the
Yeah, the mare. Yeah,
Unbridled Forever.
Unbridled Forever. Yeah,
Or there's a Forever Unbridled and Unbridled
Forever
Forever.
Unbridled. I'm sorry,
Forever
Forever
Unbridled.
Unbridled.
I
Yep.
get them.
Yeah, they were both sisters too. It was both out of that mare. They were both Grade One winners.
Yep.
You know, but Forever Unbridled, she was the one, and she was a very, very nice racehorse. I mean, she made, I don't know, 3.5 million or something.
Yep, I'm looking at it right now. 3.4 million. Won the Apple
Yep.
Blossom, the Bell Dame, Breeders'
Yep.
Cup Distaff. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. And the year she won the distaff, she ended up being mare of the year that year.
Do you remember a horse named Unbridled Song? Speaking of
Oh yeah,
Unbridled,
oh yeah,
that
yeah.
that
He had some terrible feet.
he's probably one of the best horses ever looked through a bridle. He developed a quarter crack like a couple weeks before the Derby,
Yep.
and I don't think he was ever the same ever again. He should have won the Derby that year probably, but I
That
think
horse, that horse was a nice horse. Like he was, and he also showed it with his offspring. I mean, he shot a lot of horses that, or I'm sorry, he threw a lot of horses that could really run, but they also didn't stay sound very long.
right. Is that something that horses can pass on through generations? Is
Oh
bad
yeah,
feet?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like Boundary. If you look at Boundary, Big Brown, he was a Boundary.
Yeah.
And it almost got to where there for a while, whenever Boundary got to where, he was really throwing some decent horses, and you would see them come into the barn, and you could almost pick out that they were a Boundary, but just by looking at their feet.
I got you. That's crazy. You
Yeah,
ever heard of running horses without shoes? Is that something that you see every once in a while?
you do see it every once in a while. I would, man, I wouldn't really. Of course, what I do for a living, I don't get paid unless they have shoes on. But, but you know, uh, they do it a lot at Presque Isle, where they have like a synthetic surface. And they say they do it because it's better for the horse. It's better for they got like two horseshoers that work that track. So I think they convince people actually that it's great to run without shoes because they haven't got enough people to put them on. You um, so I I've shot one horse that ran barefooted behind, and the only reason she ran barefooted behind is, man, she was so damn mean. You couldn't get shoes on her behind, even when she was tranquilized. So,
Wow.
it was one of them. Somebody was going to get hurt.
Wow. Okay. All right. Let's pass it around the horn here. Alan, you have any questions for Mr. Pat Broadus?
Yes, sir. Pat, how are you doing, sir? Thank you for joining us while you're under the weather. That's very kind of you. Very brave of you.
Well, I don't think it's too brave. I'm down here in a lot warmer weather than you guys are stuck in.
Great point. Great point. I want you to bust some mythology for me. Tell us if some of the things we believe are true or not. When a horse needs to be reshot in the paddock, when they hold the race up because one of the horses needs to be have a reshoe in the paddock, I think the prevailing wisdom, the prevailing thought is that's a negative, and that they're never going to win. And from what I've noticed in the past, that actually tends to be true. Is that in your experience, do you believe that actually is the case? Is it a negative, or is it just a roll of the dice?
I think there's certain reasons why it is a negative. I've had horses that I work on that get a shoe off in the paddock. I actually work the paddock in New Orleans, and I I think the reason that it's a negative a lot of times is if you watch a horse in the paddock, they're if they get a shoe off or they mess a shoe up, a lot of times those horses are being a little bit stupid or being an idiot
Right.
anyway and stepping over on themselves. So maybe they've ran the race before it even, they're out of energy by the time they get to the starting gate because they're just so nervous. Um,
So,
but
I was just,
yeah, I've had plenty of horses that win, and get a shoe off in the paddock and watch them win.
so you don't believe it's so much of a negative thing, or even with so much the shoe, it's more of uh, a symptom of the fact that the horse has done something silly beforehand. Anyway, he's just not right at that moment, and that's what caused the incident to happen. Is what you're
That's
saying,
what I
right?
think. That's what I think. And most of the racetracks these days have, good enough farriers to get the shoe back on in the paddock without crippling a horse or harming a horse. So, No, I think it's just circumstances, and one of those things too is we all see the horse get the shoe off in the paddock, right? If that
Right.
horse pulls it off in the post parade, we never see that. And if that
True.
horse pulls it off in the gate, we never see that. Or the horse is coming out of the gate and bobbles and pulls it off, we hardly ever see that. So how many of those horses? I've had a lot of horses. I'm not going to say a lot, but I've had horses lose a shoe in the race and still win the race.
Well, that actually leads into my next question. Because we hear about it all the time. We hear that a horse lost a shoe in a race. Sometimes we'll see it. You'll see a shoe fly up mid race,
Yep.
and it seems like such a negative. But then you'll see those horses eventually end up running well in a race, or
Yeah.
even win the race, as you said. So it seems like it just from us as humans, that seems like that would be such a drawback, but yet they'll still perform well, having three shoes on and being quote unquote off balance. Why would that be?
You know, again, I think nobody ever really talks about the horse that got a shoe off and ran last. You
Yeah.
know, um, and I think a lot of times if horses are set up and they're doing good on that day, and just the opposite, if a horse is doing bad on that day, they're not going to run good or they're going to run good. I do think losing the shoe in the race is definitely not a positive. I don't think if a horse gets beat more than a half a length or three-quarters of a length, I don't think the shoe would have made a difference. But if it's close at the end of the race and they've lost a shoe, I think they probably lost a little bit there.
I think that's fair. I can't imagine running a 5K with one shoe on. So
Yeah, yeah.
those horses are monsters. Then, one last thing in this vein, I'll let Geoff take over. When you do have a horse throw a shoe in the paddock, right? And this is where we're usually 10, 12 minutes for the race. Is there pressure? Do you feel pressure because it's holding everything up and everybody's watching you to get this horse out there, and you're the racers are getting behind? And is there any pressure? Or you just all the hell with it. I'm here to do my job, and however long it takes, however long it takes.
Whenever I was working the paddock, I hadn't worked the paddock in probably 15 or 20 years now. But definitely you do feel because you feel like everybody, and we also talk about, how long it's been since I worked the paddock. I was also a very younger blacksmith at that time. I probably wouldn't
Right.
care now,
Exactly.
um, but I know there's been some high stakes situations where, um, there was actually a time in New Orleans where one of our trainers had a shoe off and it got it off in the paddock, and the horse was supposed to run really good that day. And the paddock blacksmith was having trouble getting it on, and it just happened to be there was two or three blacksmiths hanging out in the paddock there watching the races. A lot of us are away from home when we're down here, so we kind of hang out together. Especially used to, not so much anymore because there's not enough of us. We all got to go home and get rest and get back to the track. But and we ended up we jumped the rail there, and there was about three of us that went over and helped him get that shoe back on, and that horse ended up winning. You know.
Oh,
But he was right that day, and we also knew that trainer, he thought the horse was right that day, and we all knew that we needed to help out.
so on Derby Day, is there extra blacksmiths in the paddock? Because I can only imagine the amount of pressure if someone had to shoe a horse on Derby Day with 150,000 and 15 million people watching at home. Do they have extra blacksmiths in the paddock for that day, or is it just one guy?
They normally on a normal day of racing they'll have one blacksmith. Churchill does a pretty good job on Derby Day. They will have two blacksmiths in the paddock, and then a lot of times Scotty Flint, who's a blacksmith there, he'll ride the gates because he used to work the gates, and he'll be at the gates in case of emergency there.
Good.
And nobody ever talks about that guy. But yeah, he'll be around there, and so yes, they do have more on big days, and I think in New York too, because I'm pretty good friends up there with Mike Venus. On big days, he brings in a second or maybe even a third blacksmith up there.
Well, good. I'm glad they're proactive in that. I can only imagine the pressure and the eyeballs if you were that poor guy trying to get that shoe on while the nation's watching you and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, my God. All right, Geoff.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Pat, this has been an interesting conversation for sure. You alluded to this a little bit before already, but thoroughbreds can be really highly strung animals, and just watching guys who do what you do at the track, it seems like it's a very dangerous job. So I guess two-part question. One, is that true? And two, what kind of techniques do you use to make it safer?
Okay, the first part is if everybody tells me that, and I'm fortunate enough that I run a multi-farrier practice, and I also have a sport horse division. I've got Danvers Child who runs my sport horse division, and he's in the Hall of Fame for shoeing horses. And so I get to compare, the sport horses, as far as dressage, jumpers, eventers, that type of stuff, to the thoroughbred race
Hmm.
horses. And everybody talks about how wild and crazy they are. Well, most people see them going to the paddock in
Right.
the afternoon. You're not going to stop a boxer on the way to the ring and ask him to tie his shoes. Like they know it's game
That's
time, you
that's a
know.
good analogy.
So most of my horses, you would be surprised, and a lot of people come with me, and just to watch and see. You would be surprised how good they stand.
Hmm.
And I'm very fortunate for the horses that I do get to work on because they're breeding stock, and they're going to go on to raise other good race horses. So in that they have to be able to be controlled, and they have to be able to. It's an investment. They have to
Yeah.
be able to pay attention to what you're doing, because if they don't, they're going to hurt themselves, and if they hurt themselves, they're not worth anything to anyone. You know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I'm pretty fortunate that I've worked through and got myself in with some trainers that really pay attention and really take the time to make sure that everybody's safe. Um,
Gotcha. So
you
you
know,
can trust that they've done the work on their end, that you can feel a little more
y-
comfortable when you go and do what you got to do.
yes. And the second part of that question is the techniques is just general horsemanship.
Hmm.
You don't come in like your hair's on fire. It's not gonna.
Right.
I'm a big guy. I mean, I'm 6'2". I'm close to 300 pounds, and I always tell people to get small. Like I don't care. It's
Hmm.
your presence. It's the your energy. Like get small, man. Don't come in here like you're fixing to get mad at somebody or piss. Leave that stuff at home. You know.
Yeah.
And they'll say, well, I can't get small. I'm like, man, I'm 300 pounds. If I can get small, you can get small. You know. and, and so it's and I found the guys that I have working for me, some of the best hands that I've found on these horses, like Adam Burnett works for me, Alex Dean works for me. These guys were very, very good gallop boys at one time on the racetrack, and they were also known for getting on the tough ones and not manhandle them, getting on the tough ones and figuring out how to get along with them. And I've noticed now, like Georgie Navarre, he works for me, and he was known for that too. Those people already know how to get along with a bad horse. So they've come around, and they're good horsemen to start with. So now they've come around and they just know how to get underneath a bad one. And
Right.
it's pretty fun to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you just kind of take us through the process of fitting a horse with shoes, like making the shoes and fitting them, and just like kind of your whole deal? Like what all goes into that? Because I'm sure it's not just like just slap it on there kind of thing.
Yeah, it is. There's so much that goes into it. And people ask me all the time, we're going to get off here a little bit, but people ask me all the time, like, it's got to be pretty monotonous, right? Shoeing a racehorse. And I'm like, it can be if you let it be, because, they look at it as you're shoeing a horse that does a specific job, and it's not doing, tons of different things on different surfaces and all of those. And I
Right.
look at it as a privilege because most of the racehorses that we shoe wear between a 5 and a 7.
Hmm.
Most of the racehorses are between 3 and 5 years old that I shoe. Most of them turn left, and they damn sure turn left whenever they're getting to a high rate of speed, right?
Right.
And so the nutrition's pretty good. The environment's pretty controlled. The tracks are pretty controlled. So it allows me to not worry about all those things and dive in deeper to the little things that you get to see. So I look at it as a privilege. If I was shoeing horses, all different disciplines in all different areas, I don't think I would be able to look at the small things. Um, and so this kind of just leads into the part of looking at a horse and understanding a horse. And this is the reason that I like to take care of most of my horses in house, because I like to
Hmm.
look at the little things, and I like to look at any deviations on a horse's limb. I like to look at any, swollen areas or spots that are hot or something that's there. I want to know why it's there, why we've done it. And most of my trainers are very, very good these days about communicating with me, because it used to be in the old days, they wanted to hide things from you.
Yeah,
They didn't
yeah.
they didn't want anybody to know that there was something that was, off, or something that was wrong. And now with the new rules and they want everybody doing the best job they can do to try to keep that horse as sound as they can keep that horse. Um, so what I do is I watch a horse walk out of the stall, and they walk to me, and it may just be a glance or two, but there's things that you notice, and it's kind of like a vet. And I teach all my guys, and my guys also teach me, um, to go through a checkpoint. And if you go through that checkpoint every single time when a horse walks to you, it's fast, it's quick, it's just second nature. Whenever a horse or a vet looks at a horse, there's checkpoints that they go through, and they just go straight down the limb, and they can tell you if anything deviates from normal. You know, and so that's what I kind of do. I watch them walk to me, and then I've got a lot of horses I take notes on. I've got mental notes on, and I can remember this horse was doing this last time, or horse was doing this last time. And if one of my other guys shoes a horse, he will either call the person that may shoot a horse next time and tell them right away, or we will send pictures to each other. We've got a big group chat that goes into it and says, "Hey, pay attention to this, pay attention to that." Um, and then there's also marks that we make on the shoe if we do something drastic. That way, if the next person comes along, it's not a mistake. Because we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
We all mess things up. It's just a cue to say, "Hey, this is done this way on purpose."
Right,
and
right.
so
Especially anything kind of out of the ordinary, or if there's something special on a particular horse or something.
yeah, if a horse is interfering or there's something that's going
Yeah.
on, so it's a cue for us to, hey, take a few seconds, stop and look, and make sure you're paying attention to what you're doing here.
Right.
And that's where I talk about like diving in deeper, because I get to work on the same disciplines. I've studied under a lot of really, really great mentors.
Hmm.
When I go down to pick a horse's foot up to look, I'm looking down the limb, I'm feeling down the limb, and the first thing I look at is the heel bulbs to see if there's anything any different. And then I'll pull it between my legs. I'll see if there's any shoe wear that's any different. I'll look at the cracks in the soles of the feet, which is normal before anybody
Hmm.
says cracked feet.
Right.
There's normal cracks and exfoliating sole in a horse's foot. So I'll look and see if those things are different or offset or off centered. And then as I start pulling the shoe off, I'll look at the shoe and see if the wear on the back side of the shoe matches the wear on the front side of the shoe. And then you just start looking to see if anything's out of the normal. And horses' feet are not symmetrical. Like you can look, and that's kind of a thing that people say they are. But if that is true, if a horse's foot's symmetrical, how come they can dig a horse up that's been dead for 200 years and tell you which foot's the right front and which foot's the left front?
True.
They
True.
they
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to put them back together. The coffin bones aren't the same, and I carry coffin bones in my truck all the time to show them, which the coffin bone is the bone that's actually inside the foot capsule.
Uh-huh.
For viewers that are, or for listeners that are just listening, it's the most distal bone in the limb. So you can look at that and you can tell. I can tell you right away. I've looked at plenty of them, and most farriers can. You can pick it up and look at it and go, "That's a right front. That's a left front. That's a left hind. That's a right hind," just by kind of glancing at them, because they grow different and they distribute weight different on the bottom of a horse's foot. So then I'll
Interesting.
pull the shoe off and I'll kind of clean out with my knife, and I don't get overly aggressive. I used to clean them out to where, man, you could eat soup out of the bottom of a horse's foot when I was younger. And and then I realized that I was kind of getting them sore and quit that.
Mm.
you
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
cut your fingernails too close, you get them sore.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah. That makes sense.
and it's protection. And we're asking these horses to run, and there's about 28 to 40,000 pounds of pressure per square inch on the bottom of a horse's foot when he's at a dead run.
Wow.
You know, so there's a lot of compression there. And the more protection we can give them and leave them that Mother Nature made in there, Mother Nature's a pretty good deal. Like if you'll just shut up and let her do all the work, everybody will brag on how good you are. You know,
Right. Right.
so,
Yeah. Just
but
enhance rather than change. Right.
exactly, and
Yeah.
pay attention to what she's giving you. Pay attention to what you're seeing there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then I trim off the excess foot. And the sole depth and things that you read in the foot will show you how much foot's there. And the reason that we trim off the excess foot is you want to keep a thoroughbred racehorse because there is so much pressure on a limb, like we just talked about, the horse, the way he hits the ground. Any excess length on a foot just multiplies that by whatever times it is, but it makes it more and more the longer the foot gets because of the leverage on the limb itself.
Right.
So as a thoroughbred racehorse or a thoroughbred blacksmith, a lot of times you're living on the edge. You want to get enough foot off of them to not get them sore, but one more swipe, you're getting them sore.
Yeah.
And that's something that people really don't think about. They're like, oh, well, they take them short. It's like, well, we take them as short as we can, but still leave them sound. If you keep taking them short and not leaving them sound, you're going to end up without a job.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be counterproductive at that point.
Yeah, and then I'll just take the shoe that's there. If I'm, it's a pre-manufactured shoe for the most part that I use, and shape and mold that. And we call it a stall jack, but for lack of a better word or layman's terms, it's like a little anvil that we use to shape the shoes on.
Okay.
We'll shape them to the foot, and I'll put 6 nails in and drive them up and finish them off as best we can, and try to get them down as nice and finished as we can, because you don't want to, they are traveling at such a high rate of speed. You don't want the grooms cutting their hands picking them, or you don't want them, swinging over and hitting themselves and ended up cutting themselves because of it. It's
no any extra issues. Yeah.
Yes. And you don't have to leave a real big clinch on a thoroughbred racehorse, because we're shoeing them every 28 to 30 days. And then they're holding on a very light race plate. They're not holding on a big hunk of steel.
Yeah.
So.
All right, man. Well, Cece, I'm going to let you wrap things up with Pat, but it's been super interesting.
Yep, absolutely. I got one last question for Pat. You're down in New Orleans. Do you take part in I know a lot of the horsemen like to go down to Bourbon Street and hang out, maybe imbibe in some adult beverages. Do you ever do anything like that?
When I was younger, I had a balcony on Bourbon Street for about 15 years.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I heard that it's a pretty cool time down there, but yeah, that was a lot of fun, and there was a lot of horsemen that would go down there, and it wasn't expensive as you think it would be, because you could get 50 people up on a balcony, and you would end up with, all of your drinks up there and all of your food up there. And the number one thing is we had our own bathroom, so that you didn't have to worry about the rest of it. And that was for Mardi Gras, and yeah, I'll still go down there a couple times and meet, but man, I don't know. Since I've gotten older, I can have 2 drinks now, and I feel like trash tomorrow.
Did you spend a lot on beads while you were down there, brother? Be honest.
We spent a fair amount, I would say. Yeah.
Gotcha.
We had some fun. Usually we would sell off. If there's 50 spots up there, we would split it up. But amongst about 25 or 30 of us, and the rest would be for people that looked a lot better than us to get up there and come up for free and do their deal. So
I like the way you think. That's good. That's what we should have let off with right there.
yeah, we should have just went into that.
Dive deeper into that. I didn't mean to interrupt you, CC, but I was curious.
All right. Well, it sounds good. Pat, we appreciate you coming on the show. I've seen your truck on the Churchill Downs backside before a few years ago. So you've been around the block, but thank you for coming on the show, and good luck going forward, sir.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, guys. It was fun.
You guys remember, I had it drawn up here on my computer, 2010, December 18th, 2010, Comma to the Top.
Yes.
Won the Hollywood Futurity. Do you remember that race by any chance, or the pre-race? The horse lost his shoe somehow, and they brought the farrier down, and I think either he got kicked. The rumor was that the farrier was too drunk to put the shoe on. I don't know if that's, but the official story was that he got kicked, and he couldn't put the shoe on. So they had to wait like 30 minutes to call a new farrier to come in and reshod Common to the top. I remember watching video of it. Peter Miller trained that horse, and he kind of messed around with doing it himself. I don't know how that would have gone, but they got the second guy in there, and Common to the top went on and won the Hollywood Futurity, and then
Well,
he eventually would run in the Derby, Kentucky Derby. So
well, Pat is definitely not that guy because Pat was the most professional people I think I've ever spoken to. We talked to him off air, like we were talking. He's the Elon Musk of farriers. He's got big plans, and he does a lot more than we even got into. He is otherworldly good and an otherworldly visionary in his craft. I think that's fair to say, right, guys?
oh, no
Yeah,
doubt about that.
absolutely. And as
Yeah.
passionate as can be, that's what I loved about him is, man, you can tell the love he has for the trade and just how much he cares. So
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
we heard a lot more off air to actually give us his opinion. Trust us, guys. Trust us, folks.
Mhm.
All right, a big weekend. Fairgrounds has a big day coming up. Got the $100,000 gun runner stakes, mile 16 for 3-year-olds. Uh, Typical Fairgrounds card. I think the last 5 races are all stakes races. Of course, locally, the Turfway Park Synthetic Championships were rescheduled because it snowed on Saturday and it's like 50 below for some reason in December. And now it's been rescheduled for
Did
Sunday.
you all see that Turfway cam they had going
I
last
did,
Saturday?
yes. It was the right call,
It was the
definitively.
right call to not run on Saturday.
It was rough up there because I told you guys I was at my brother's Christmas party, and that's only 50 miles south of that. But by the end of that party, it was a little rough getting home from that, and that was nothing compared to
Mhm.
Florence. So absolutely the right call. So
Any anything you like on that synthetic championship card?
well, before we get into that, I was going to ask you guys something that I'm actually not quite aware of. On the day of the races last week, they'd already scratched several horses because that's just what happens, right? One of them was that Canadian horse. I can't remember the name. I'm sure you guys uh, can't. I don't know the horse coming down from Canada that I liked. So even though they scratched prior to them canceling the card on Saturday, are those horses eligible to run now? Do you know what I'm
Yep.
saying? They
Yeah,
are.
they are. So everybody is eligible. The only horse that was originally drawn in that is no longer eligible was Big Gary, who won. He broke his maiden at Turfway last week, I think it was. So he can't
Okay.
run in a maiden race that he's entered in, but everybody else is eligible.
So even if you scratched that day, you're technically it's a fresh start. You get a do
Yep.
over if you decide that you want to run. Okay, cool.
Hmm.
Yeah, I remember liking the card last week when they were going to run it, but I remember thinking um the horse the Howard Wallowitz looked remarkably tough,
Yeah,
and I think
he's
he
gonna be
still is
tough.
going to be that way because we're probably going to have a few scratches for different reasons now, right? So I got to think Howard Wallowitz is going to be tough. Jeff, who do you like?
I know Roland Big Joe won this past
True.
weekend, so I'm sure he's not going to be in there. And yeah, I mean, I think my tickets are probably going to be centered around Howard Wallowitz. I think he looks extra tough just with that experience over the track, and it's probably his best career race was in the Holiday Cheer last year. So I think we can probably try to find value surrounding and key in on him. That's kind of my strategy right now going into Sunday.
CC.
I'll give you a flyer in the last race. It's a maiden special weight.
Hmm.
Heard a little buzz. I don't know if the horse is going to draw in or not. Number 13, Hayes Goal, finished last in his debut. The word was that they like this horse a little bit. So I'm going to use him. I'm not going to single him, but I'm going to use him. So we'll see. He may come in last again, but it's
There's
John Ennis and Adam Beschizza. So it's that's a tried and true connection. 27% together at Turfway Park in the last 365 days.
It's a
that's
good
a
number.
there's some potentials in that last race at some prices or whatever. So yeah, I remember liking the card the other day, trying to remember who I did like. Now I know in the let's see. I think the way to make some money is in the My Charmer. Make a little contrary in the My Charmer and take some prices outside of Caitlin the Great or
Caitlin,
whatever.
her greatness. Yeah.
You know, yeah, it's like
Next up is in there.
yeah.
My
Next
favorite
up,
horse.
Yeah, next up in Vina Rana, there's some price horses in there
Yeah.
that could upset the favorite, and
Uh-huh.
that's a good way to get some equity and stuff if you do have a tendency to lean on Howard Wallowitz, who, if there are scratches, could be a shorter price than we originally thought. But do you guys like? Have you guys looked at the Fairgrounds card at all? I've looked at the late sequence.
I haven't yet. What do you like in there?
I think it's if you're a uh, dedicated Kentucky player, all of us folks like that are probably going to look towards the same type horses because I think the Untappable is a little weak. A lot of horses coming out of
Mm.
starter allowances in there, and I think it's the Gun Runner. If you recall, Liberty National looking really good,
Yep.
breaking his maiden at Churchill looked extremely good
Hmm.
in the last 16th of a mile there. I think he'll be tough. And then Mesquite for Cherie DeVoe and Jose Ortiz. I'm not telling anybody anything they don't know. The horse is 9 at 2 in the morning line. That horse got left at the gate, was as green as all get out, and still somehow won that race. So I expect that the public may go to Mesquite and Liberty National, and I don't blame them. Those are the two I like. So
I
you look
don't
at
I don't love the turnaround, the quick turnaround for Liberty National. He
yeah,
just ran end of November. That's a pretty
agreed.
quick turnaround. So I might consider fading him. Chip Honcho's the one I like the most in there. Just
Yeah,
I'm thinking of
Yeah.
Built won the race last year, went wire to wire. I think maybe Chip Honcho employs the same tactics.
he does remind me of Built, and I could see him going straight to the front, not looking back. I think the inside three is where I would look. But yes, you're right. But there's some possibilities there. Like I said, the untappable is not as strong as it usually is. It's competitive, which at the end of the day, that's all I really care about. Competitive, uh, potential for decent prices and stuff. So the untappable is an interesting race. A lot of missed call and horses like that, and hit parade. Hit parade doesn't scare anybody. So we'll see what happens.
All right, that's all I've got. Anybody else have anything you want to declare before we sign off?
No, like I said, I wish I'd loved my job the way Pat Broadus loved his job.
I wish I wish I had one D in my name.
All these jokes about. I keep hearing the word D. I'm trying my best not to make any jokes. So,
Okay, okay. All right, that's it. On behalf of our guest this evening, veteran Farrier, Pat Broadus, Alan Schneider, Geoff Riggs, and a cast of thousands, I'm CC Broadus, reminding you, in the famous words of Alan Schneider, ladies, you'll never be first, but you can definitely be next. Good night.
love it.